Well, it looks like Marvel Studios could be making some pretty big changes to the MCU, and of course this could be either really good or, if executed improperly, could be bad. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and the changes that Marvel Studios are making and have actually currently made already have fans kind of concerned, but don't worry, I think that this is actually a really good thing. Now, what is Marvel Studios going to be changing? Well, one, they're going to be changing the frequency that they actually release new projects to the MCU. And no, I'm not just talking about the series on Disney+. What we're talking about today are specials. Marvel Studios has begun releasing what they call specials in the MCU. And here's the thing, sometimes specials could be extremely important, but sometimes they might not mean anything at all. However, all specials will be canon to the MCU, and this is something that Marvel Studios is doing a lot more in the future. Now, what are specials? Well, they can be many different things, and I think they're an excellent idea, but I can understand why fans are worried, and of course, we'll talk about that in this video. Now, specials can be anything from the I Am Groot series that we got on Disney Plus to Werewolf by Night, which is about to come out in a few days. It can be the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and it could also be some type of a short film introducing a new character to the MCU. Now, all of these, which I mentioned, are and will be canon to the MCU, meaning they take place inside the MCU storyline. And like I said, each project could have a very big impact on the MCU, from very small to a very large impact. But let's be clear, this is a very big deal, and specials will have a serious impact on the MCU as a whole. And if you're thinking that they don't matter or the stories won't really connect or be anything big, well, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has already came out and confirmed that specials will indeed have a very serious and big impact on the MCU, and once you see Werewolf by Night in a couple of days, you'll realize why. Also, here's another perfect example. James Gunn has already confirmed that the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is canon and is quite important. It will contain very important info that you will need to know, meaning you'll have to watch the holiday special to know what is happening in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 film. James Gunn specifically said that this is MCU canon. It takes place between Thor: Love and Thunder and the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So these are a big deal, and according to a new report from the CosmicCircus.com, Marvel Studios is considering doing a lot more specials. And once you see this, I believe that you'll think that these specials are a really good idea. In theory, of course. Again, it's all how it's executed, which of course we'll talk about, but let's first talk about how this could potentially be bad. It's pretty obvious that a lot of MCU fans have been complaining about the quality of Phase 4. And to be fair, the series on Disney Plus started with Phase 4. And some of them were really good, but some were kind of just okay. Now, some people can attribute this to that's just how it is. You're liking some things, but not liking the other things. However, some people say that Marvel is kind of putting out too much content right now, focusing more on quality and not quantity. Phase 4 has introduced the Disney Plus shows, plus we're getting 3 to 4 movies a year. This is a lot more content. Plus, we do hear the news about the visual effects artists being overworked, and I can see that, especially with all of the new content that came in Phase 4. However, I think if Marvel can fix a few things and make one thing very clear, this could be a really good thing. More content with specials in a very different way could very much work. I had the opportunity to watch Werewolf by Night last week, and I can tell you that this special really works. I thought the 1 hour special was fantastic. This is a new way to introduce characters into the MCU that will go on to affect the larger MCU. And I actually found it quite refreshing that it wasn't exactly an origin story, and it wasn't a really long, dragged out story either. They kind of just introduced the character and left. They showed us who the character was, they showed us what he was about, they had a really great story which did wrap up in the special, and then they ended it. Now, they did introduce other characters like Man-Thing and Elsa Bloodstone, and they're going to go on to have a big impact on the MCU too. However, this was still very much a Werewolf by Night story that involved these other great characters. This could open up the MCU to a much bigger, greater side. For example, for the MCU, Werewolf by Night is truly kicking off the supernatural side. We thought it started with Moon Knight, and it kind of did, but once you see this, you'll understand. And this is what Kevin Feige had to say about the special. He said, "We wanted to explore entirely new characters and entirely new sides of the MCU with this unusual, fun, and frightening spin on the supernatural. And Kevin Feige did this through a special and it worked. So these specials can be a very great thing, and they can be very important and some not matter really at all, but still connect to the MCU and can still be very, very enjoyable if Marvel Studios gets one thing right. Let me explain what that is. The perfect example is the I Am Groot series. It was fun, and it was what we expected. We knew that it wasn't going to be a really big show. We knew it wasn't really going to impact the MCU that much, but it was MCU canon, and it was fun. It was a fun time. That's what we expected. Is it MCU canon? Yeah. Does it really matter to the MCU? No, not really. Well, in Groot's case, kind of, but still not really to the overall MCU. Does Werewolf by Night matter? Yes, it does. It introduces characters to each other and shows clear relationships and implications, but at the same time, it is a standalone feature, which also opens up another really great thing that these specials can be used for. Marvel can make specific movies that they want to make and not really have to focus on the rest of the MCU, but still connect. In an interview with comicbook.com, director Giacchino talked about working with Marvel and making the film. He said, cameos never really came up. I mean, we talked a little bit about Blade, but in the end, it was like, you know what? If we're looking at this, and I always describe this as an episode of The Twilight Zone, let's keep it contained. This is one night in the life of Jack and Elsa, and let's see what it's like. And I know everyone searches for connectivity, and we want this person in here and this, and I was like, no, let's just do this. It exists in the same world as all of these other things. It does, but let's not worry about that right now. We'll deal with that maybe someday. I don't know, but for right now, I wanted to tell you the story of one night in the life of these characters, and hopefully something that you could just drop in on, not having seen anything else, and just enjoy it for what it was. I personally really like this idea, and I think a lot of fans will as well. This is something that you don't have to watch anything else in the MCU to enjoy. I've heard a lot of people talking about how people have been skipping Disney Plus shows because they haven't really been enjoying them. However, they're kind of bummed because they do need to know what happened to know what's going to happen in the future of the MCU for all of these team-up films and movies that connect with each other. So this is a standalone film. This is a standalone story, but at the same time has very, very big implications for the MCU and introduces new characters that we'll see down the road. This is why I actually really loved Werewolf by Night and why I love the idea of doing specials. If Marvel can level our expectations and let us know exactly what to expect. If we're going to get a show like I Am Groot that's just going to be silly and fun, they need to let us know, which they did before. However, when it comes to She-Hulk, my personal opinion is they marketed it kind of the wrong way. It's not really what they said it was going to be, which is why I think a lot of people actually aren't really enjoying it. This is why I think that expectations are a must for Marvel Studios, and marketing needs to be on point for what they're releasing. This has the potential to really expand the MCU and introduce a lot of new characters. They could use this to introduce characters that we really love, like Nova. We know a Nova project is coming. However, it hasn't really been clarified if that's going to be a Disney Plus show or a movie, or now it could even be a special. Now, some people might say, well, I want a full movie to introduce a character, and some people might say, well, I want a full series to introduce a character. But again, if the story is right, these specials can be really great. They could also be used to describe stories that are kind of taking place outside of the main MCU storyline. Again, they connect, but do they really matter? No, but they could be a lot of fun. So overall, I think specials could be a really great thing to the MCU if done properly, and of course, if Marvel sets these expectations. But at the same time, I understand how fans might be pretty skeptical of this. So be sure to let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest news. And for live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.